Yeah, I mean, got some kiting in yesterday. Had a good time. It was pretty fun. Got to try out some of the ones I didn't get to. Got to experience some of the control of the real hefty, lift kites, the power kites and such. It's
how big of a difference is that?
Huge. So, let's say I was using, for example, a trainer kite that was like a 220 grade, and then I switched to like a 250, and the 220 is like a full body pull when the wind is strong, right? I went out to the park. It was a windy day. It was nice, clear skies, and it was a good strong pull where I'd have to put my muscles into it at the zenith of where it was pulling me. But when I switched to the 250, it was partially lifting me off the ground. Like, I had to lean full body, to get it where I wanted to go at times. So you can choose the larger ones, because the larger ones, it's essentially a parachute, right?
Yeah.
Your basic, and it has the same tech as a parachute as well. So
you mean a cloth in the wind?
It's not just a cloth in the wind. So parachute,
there is a string, I am aware.
It's more than just a cloth and a string. It's actually inflating itself. There's 2 layers of fabric and a vent in between that fills up with air. So it's actually more like a little flat balloon, like a float. It's not just one layer of fabric and strings attached. When you have the 2 layers and the air in between, it has so much more strength and power and resistance. So the trainer kites had those on them, and you really got a good you have to fight the wind at some points, and when you crash, it hits the ground fucking hard, and you hear a loud thud. And I was originally having some trouble with it because I knew how to use the regular kites, but those ones were, again, they're the kind that kite surfers use. So we were kind of using it and doing it improperly, and just some nice dude just comes out of nowhere and goes, "Hey guys, do you need some help?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. We don't know what we're doing. This is really my first time trying out this kind of kite." And he's like, "Yeah, no worries. I'm a kite instructor that went at a kite school. I can help you guys figure out how to do this." And I'm like, "Yeah!" So we met a little random kite angel that just showed up out of nowhere, and he gave us some key tips. One really important one is, for this kind of kite we were using, you don't get to semi-uncoil the string. You have to fully unwind it. So you have to be at max distance, and then it starts to make sense, I was trying to keep it shorter to avoid, possibly hitting anybody around, because you're in a park, but there's still people out and about. So you want to just keep a nice radius away from everybody. But he was like, no. For this, you have to fully unwind it, So we had to switch parks and go to a larger one where we could make space. So we kind of were able to do that, but there's a couple. We got some tips from him about how to get a nice figure 8 going, how to get some nice tricks, and it was really cool. He really helped us out, and then he just walked on his way and had a good day. And I'm like, oh fuck, what are the odds that a kite teacher just wanders in, shows us some tricks and how to do it, and then wanders out?
I'm gonna say, actually, more likely than you would expect from a similar kind of activity, because if you're in you were in a nice open park, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Kiting is highly visible.
Yes.
From a really far distance.
I definitely,
a couple 100 feet easy.
I definitely don't expect to run into people that are into kiting as much as people that are into kite surfing, which is much more popular, and then they can give me some of the tips. So that works, because that's what I was using. I also got my whale going up, and man, that thing is beautiful. It really has, it's frameless, so it just kind of fills with the air and floats, and it stays up, never crashed. Once the whale went up, it stayed up until we wanted it down. Can't believe how fucking solid that one is. And I've already.
I have what might be like a silly question.
Mhm.
You described the 250 as like bordering on lifting your fucking feet off the ground
At the height of it,
like
yeah.
right. Say the wind is like just really killing it that day. How the fuck do
16
you get it
kilometers per
down?
hour. Oh, you can control it. So you steer it either to okay. Imagine this is specific to power kiting too. Imagine you have a sphere in front of you, right? The area,
All right.
right? So the area when you're holding on to the kite and it's out in front of you. If you go straight out in front of you at eye level and then go 45 degrees up, that is that's the zenith. That's the power zone where you're going to get the most pull and the most resistance, right? And if you control it and try to keep it there, you're going to get a constant pull. If you pull it straight above your head, 90 degrees, then it gets soft again. It gets weaker. The wind is not going to be blowing into it at that.
Basically, put it directly above your head and then
put it directly above your head, and you can relax it for a little bit. Or if you're trying to land it, then you want to steer it so eye level and then like 45 degrees right or 45 degrees left. Like then you can steer it down there, and then you can get a soft landing. But because I'm a beginner, I'm just crashing it basically, and taking that as the landing. It's great. It's super cool.
As long as it doesn't fly away, that I'm sure that's a victory.
No, and it won't, because again, these ones that are not just like, hey, look at the pretty thing in the sky. These things are like sporting things. Like you got a body workout. There's footage of a dude like leaning back like Dio style, getting dragged a little bit, using his just like full body to pull it. So but what happens is if you ever completely lose control of it and you're just like, this is too much, I can't handle it, there's a wrist strap attached to it that is attached to the bar, and the moment you let go of the bar, the whole thing just falls. So there's a safety feature that essentially means like it's pulling you, you can't control it, it's too much, you just let go of the bar, and that'll lopside the strings and cause the whole thing to just come straight down, but the wires will tangle themselves, and you'll spend the next like half an hour untangling the wires, you know?
More importantly, it's not going to drag you off, say, a cliff.
No. So first of all, you'd be an idiot to do it near one. But
but it'd be really cool.
Okay, so there's a second layer of emergency as well. So the first layer of emergency is let go of the bar, the strap will be on your wrist, it'll fall down, you can go retrieve it, no problem. The second layer is if you are being personally dragged in a direction that you can't let go of and that you can't resist or whatever, you can pull a tab on your wrist and it'll detach the whole thing from you. And then it'll just fall off and go elsewhere. But like, you don't want to risk anyone else, obviously.
It'll go on its way and become a villain in that Junji Ito fucking nightmare story with the balloons.
Sure. So you don't want to pull the tab unless you really, really give up on what's happening, But just letting go of the bar, letting the safety harness kick in is enough, But that same kite teacher did tell me about how he got a kite came down on the back of his neck, and he got a huge bruise across his shoulder and neck because, like, it lands with force, like it's not a joke. So those kites, you gotta be those kites, and like a couple of the others that are that fast and two-handed, you gotta really be careful with. So I'm gonna be learning about that stuff. I got some stuff on the mail coming, some better reels. I got a stunt kite on the way. And some cool tails. I can't wait for it. Really, really excited.
So this gentleman explained to you a situation in which he was struck by a kite.
Yes.
And in an earlier conversation, you described battle kites that essentially are kites with knives attached to them. So there's a non-0% chance that you may come into this podcast with a self-inflicted kite-based stab wound.
Well, first of all, First of all, I don't have the confidence to get into kite fighting just yet.
Not
if
yet,
ever,
you don't.
If ever. But secondly, after talking about them, I've learned from various places about the different customs and the different ways they go about it. Like, again, lots of countries have cool kite traditions, and some places do it way more dangerously than others. I found out about the WoW kites in Malaysia, which are larger than a car that make huge noises, and they launch them into the air, and they're fucking crazy, massive, massive things. You know, if something like that comes down on you, you're gonna take a lick or two. You're gonna take some beatings. But the one that most people let me know about was in Brazil. How so the kite fighting is different. There's some places where the kite itself has the blade, and there's some places where the string has the cutting. And so the string will be coated with glass and fine broken powders and sharp things to make the string as sharp as possible, right? And when they play, they fight and go for a string on string cut. And that's the shit that gets insane, because apparently in Brazil, a kite got cut during one of these battles, and then the string came down on a motorcyclist and killed him. Right in the head, near decapitation.
Cool.
So that's the shit you don't want to do. And then they banned it, and then people had to, you know, like, I heard about someone
underground, which is ironic considering kiting doesn't work very well underground.
I mean, someone described a helmet that has like a thing sticking out that's like an antenna to stop anything that's like that. Like, if you're doing it where someone might be on a motorcycle with the string being that dangerous that's crazy. That's fucking insane. You know what I mean?
Sounds cool though.
But it's just like, yeah, I would never in a million. That's like
cool though.
Yeah, so you know, that's like, hey, you know what's cool? Fighting games, but like there's a gun attached to my arcade stick, and it's pointing at you.
That is cool.
Like, just I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to fucking have the fun with my kite, and then also there's a gun attached. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, fuck off. If I'm gonna ever try any of the dueling kite things, it'll be the kite itself, and it'll be empty field with literally nothing or anyone around in the vicinity of where the kites themselves are. You know?
You know what's great about an empty field with no one around? No one can see what really happened.
I see.
In the kiting duel.
There you go. How did the body get here?
It was a freak accident, dude. My kite, it out of control. It stabbed him 35 times.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, if you were to combine the power of like the two-handed kites and the speed of that with like a blade, that's just a weapon. It's not a kite anymore. It's like, if I could show you, like, so there's a guy that has a shop here in Montreal, and he's got some footage of him out in the fields. He's an older dude, and he's trying to make it look cool, so he's got his shades on, and he's doing these little like hand gestures that are like he's trying to make it look really like coordinated and shit, and it's some goofy old shit. But the shit he's doing is making it spin in a really fast circle. He's doing quick figure eights, and then you're doing something that's called a sweep, right? And a sweep is when essentially you make the kite go really high up, and then it nosedives to the ground, turns 90 degrees at the last second, sweeps as far across the horizon as you can go, and then goes back up, like creating a U shape. When it's sweeping across the horizon, it's like, I don't know how fast. I don't want to give it like a kilometers per hour, but it with a blade, that's like murder you fast, like easily. You know. So yeah, don't. Like, that's a weapon. There's no reason for that. We don't need to go there. I just want to enjoy my whale in the sky.
I feel like
pizza.
I'm listening to you, like, in episode 1 of the Downfall arc that ends with you as, like, one of the Ninja Scroll antagonists.
I mean, listen, I've spent the entire week hearing and watching and reading people that are trying to turn this into something it's not. A lot of people are trying to turn me into they're trying to turn it into like some kind of whatever. They're trying to run. People are trying to figure out what the lore angle is. Should he become Kite Man? Should this become a death sport?
I mean,
what's the lore angle?
That one's just easy.
But there's no lore angle. It's just a simple fun thing that begins and ends with.
If there's no lore angle, then the only remaining option is to descend into complete fantasy.
You're correct.
You know this.
You're correct. Because it begins and ends with the pretty thing in the sky is moving, and now I can control it. Yeah, good kiting day. By the time I got back home, I was definitely like, got a good workout going. You know, it was pretty physical, strenuous at its strongest.
There's no lore angle, says the man who I can directly quote not 2 minutes earlier saying, if you were able to combine the power of the two-handed ones with a knife, you would have a killing weapon.
Which I will never do. Ever. But it would be insanely dangerous.